Welcome to the Kaizen Gal Podcast. This is your host, MC. The Kaizen Gal is a podcast about continuous improvement, building the habits to make the most out of what you already have and scale your progress in a sustainable way. Some people say, don't work harder, work smarter. Well, I believe that we can do both if we balance our time, energy, and drive well. On to today's episode. On to today's topic, which is priority management. Actually, I wanted to cover that topic in one episode, but I learned so much about it over the years that I think I'm going to break it down into 4 to 5 episodes, including the one that you're listening to right now. So, yeah, 2 episodes in and I'm making a series anyway. Hopefully I can keep that up. Anywho, the goal of the series is to help you effectively prioritize and adopt consistent time management strategies. And I will expand on these strategies as we move through the episodes, but they include mainly learning to reconcile time management with that of your personal or professional environment. Also, identifying your strengths and weaknesses and build a time management strategy that is adapted to your personality. Not go about trying to take people tips and hints about time management. It needs to work for how you function. The third strategy is to optimize your time and energy management. And the fourth strategy is maintaining and increasing your credibility and control in managing demands and priorities. Because as for me, I want to be known and recognized as someone who is reliable. And so you want to be reliable, and it will also help you grow your self-confidence, because knowing that you can actually manage and deliver things on time, it's going to just you're going to have a bump in your self-confidence. Today's episode is specifically about the basics. We want to make sure that the foundations are right before we try and build a mansion upon it. Time management. A lot of people talk about it, and in a world that only seems to be getting faster and faster, we all come to wish that we had 4 or 5 more hours a day. The Beyonce hour, you remember? Sometimes we feel like success only belongs to the people who are able to be very, very fast at what they're already doing. And I think that it is part of the problem. Each of us is trying to accomplish more and more in the 24 hours that we have, the same 24 hours that we have. And eventually that causes pressure to spread in a butterfly effect on our environment. Because as a human being, as efficient as one may be, we do not function in silos, especially in the 21st century. Like, I don't get up in the morning to plant wheat, harvest it, and make bread out of it before 9 a.m. Not to mention the butter that I'm spreading on my toast, the metal that I'm using in the oven that I'm using, my coffee. So it means that somewhere my desire for accomplishment and actually being able to do things is putting pressure on someone else's time and priorities. In summary, we are all part of a big supply chain. And it is important to manage what is happening at our stage efficiently so that we do not break, because our time is not a commodity. We don't have a lot of it, and we have the same every single day. So we need to spend it wisely. In order to do that, we must know how to fight against the culture of urgency. We need to take the time and stop. I know it's counterintuitive, but we need to take the time to stop and do 3 things. Analyze our reaction and change our reflexes. This is what brings us to do something without even thinking about it and not even thinking about how it fits into the big scheme of things, the plans that we have for ourselves. The second thing we need to do when we stop is to take a step back. Instead of trying to move forward at any cost, take a step back and we focus on the right prioritization techniques. This is my French self, not Englishing well. And the third thing that we want to do, and we don't want to let the atmosphere, like the confusion that may be around us at work, in family, kind of reach us and confuse us as well. We want to remain as clear-headed as possible. And so time management, it is a matter of 3 things: attitude, analysis, and behavior. These three translate into the three most efficient ways I have found to overcome the pitfalls of time management. The first one is reflection. I talk about stopping. Okay, don't panic. I don't mean stopping for days on end. You need to be able to assess rapidly what's going on. You need to be able to look at your task, look at the activities you have to do, look at your schedule, agenda, and have a quick analysis and understand if it is serving you or if it is not serving you, if it's going to drag you to the ground or if it's going to uplift you. You want to be able to do that. And one of the pitfalls here is do not confuse something that is urgent with something that is important. Some important things can wait. Urgent things typically cannot wait. So you have to learn how to prioritize, not based on the last minute thing you have to do, who's asking you to do something, who's asking you to stop and do this other thing. No, you have to stop and really grow into the habit of rapidly assessing your time, your schedule, and understand what is happening there. The second thing is you want to be organized. So you want to be organized because we often say that if you don't plan for success, you're planning for failure. It is true to some extent. After you have done the assessment, you want to organize your time and task, not just time. You want to organize your task and activities as well in a way that help you to succeed and actually put in place the schedule, the priorities that you have. You want to be able to manage the unexpected better. And most importantly, you have some time-consuming activities in your schedule. Some of them you can avoid, others you cannot. But you need to take all of them into account when you're organizing for success. The pitfall here is to not have a clear understanding of the time or energy or resources required to accomplish something. We tend to underestimate the complexity of some of the things that we want to do. For instance, you would put an activity in your schedule and block time for an hour, but that activity means that you have to do 3 other things before you can actually get to it. And so the real question is, in that 1 hour that you plan, are you going to be able to do all of these 3 sub activities and then the main activity? Or are you going to just end up going over time and then feeling like you lost control? That feeling of losing control happens often because you haven't planned, you haven't set the right amount of time for an activity. So one rule of thumb that I use when I plan for my time or when I organize my schedule, planning for success, is whatever time I think I'm going to take, I am literally blocking 1.5 to twice the time, sometimes even 2.5, the time that I think it's going to take me. I am blocking that in my agenda. And whenever I actually am able to complete it before the end of that period, I feel like I gained some time. It's a trick to gratify me because I'm like, oh my God, like I finished earlier. Maybe I over allocated time, but at the end of the day, whenever I'm able to finish before the time, I always feel good about myself. So you want to be realistic with the time blocking that you may be doing, and just really assessing what time the task or activity will require. Even more so if it implies asking for other people's help. So make sure you don't fall into that trap. The third way is action. You may have read Atomic Habits. I still haven't. I'm reading blog articles about it, but I still haven't. But you don't want to confuse motion and action. So the 2 steps that I mentioned before, the reflection and the organization, they are all motion activities because you are planning. You are reviewing things, assessing schedule, planning for time, and you are putting all of these onto your agenda. Now, action is actually doing something with all of that reflection and organization that you've done. Because if you plan for it, if you organize, if you reflect, but you don't act upon these insights, it is worthless. When it's time for you to act, you want to make sure that you are behaving in a way that is in line with what you planned, that is in line with the reflection that you had, that is in line with the schedule that you gave to yourself. You want to honor that because, like I said, if you are able to honor that consistently, it is going to grow your self-confidence because you would realize, oh, I am able to actually respect the time that I allocated for myself on this task. And it's going to make you feel great. If you are able to finish the task even before that, you're going to feel even better. So I definitely want to make sure that you are following the plan. And the two traps that are going to come your way, and I know they will because that's typically what happens, is you have to learn to say no. But the caveat here, you have to learn to say no with solutions. Because sometimes we're not all comfortable saying no. I grew very, very comfortable saying no. But if you at least are able to say no and give a solution, so it's no, I cannot do that for you right now, but you could do so and so. So you want to say no first by saying no and give solutions because colleagues, family members are going to ask you and say things like, it's not going to take you a lot of time. It's just this tiny thing here. Can you just give me a hand here and there? And these little things, they can quickly snowball and just become really big things. And so you want to be able to say no. Remember, you have assessed at the first step what was the things that you really wanted to focus on and the reactions that you tend to lean towards. So here, now that you know, when you are at the action step and someone is asking you something that does not fall in line, you need to be able to honor the agreement you made with yourself. And you do not want to put the blame on others whenever you cannot. It's not others people's fault. They were not with you when you were reflecting back on your schedule, reflecting back on your habits, organizing and planning and time blocking. They were not here. Like I said before, we are all part of a big supply chain. They are coming from their place, their stage of the supply chain, asking you for something. And you have the right to say yes. You have the right to say no. If you decide to say yes, it is on you. It is not on them because they ask and you have the power to refuse. Okay? Same thing if you look at the distractions around you and you have phone calls and emails and people coming over to your place, things like that you forgot to embed in your time management, in your schedule. It is not on them. You have to be aware. I think that's really the main thing. Managing your time, it's first and foremost a question of awareness. It is a state of mind that really consists of you thinking, analyzing, and understanding your task, your environment, your objectives, and most importantly, you want to be able to reevaluate your planning as you move forward. So, hopefully that was clear. The last takeaways before I end today is going back to reflection, organization, and action. Ask yourself these 3 questions and really think them through because, again, it's awareness. You have to be aware of things. Do not answer these questions with who you wish you were in mind. No. Answer this question in the state that things are now. If you have 3 kids at home and you cannot prevent them from barging into your office, this has to be planned. This has to be added to your plan. It is a thing that happens to you that you're not able to prevent. Maybe you can diminish it, but you might not be able to prevent it. So the 3 questions that you want to think through until next time is, do you take the time each day to think about what you are going to do or what you are doing during the day and compare that to what you are trying to accomplish? So I'm repeating, do you take the time each day to look at the quote unquote gap between what you were doing or what you're going to do and what you are trying to accomplish? This involves identifying the essential tasks that produce the largest part of your results. Remember the Pareto principle, 80-20. What is it that you were doing? Do you take the time to think about these things? Don't tell me you don't have the time to take the time. It is important. It's like dressing up in the morning. If you don't take the time each day to think about this, it's as if you were going at your day naked, mentally naked. You wouldn't do that. You take the time in the morning to dress. You may have PJs on, you may have sweats on, but you take the time to dress up because you don't want to walk around the house or in the streets naked. Why don't you dress up your mind in the morning as well? It doesn't have to take time. Again, you are going to grow into the habit of doing that faster every day, because the more you do it, the more you know the questions to ask yourself. That was the first question. Do you take time each day to think about the gap between what you are doing and what you're trying to accomplish? The second question is, are you able to reduce recurring interruptions in your periods of focus, of work, whether it's from colleagues, family, or phone, apps, social media, and things like that? Some interruptions you cannot avoid, like I mentioned. So I'm not saying to eliminate them completely and force yourself to eliminate them. But these interruptions, they can add up to a lot of time. So you want to plan your time according to the interruptions that you cannot avoid or reduce. Do not get ahead of yourself. You want to be, again, aware. Like if people are sending you Zoom meetings or Slacks or huddles, and just like, if it's not part of your schedule, you have to be comfortable and just denying the invite. You have to be aware enough to distinguish between urgency and importance. Okay? The third question is linked to what I just said. Are you able to say no without feeling guilty? I mentioned earlier how you can say no and give solutions. So if you're able to say no without feeling guilty, congratulations. If you are not, my question to you is why not? What is it on the inside of you that compels you to say yes to others in a way that says no to your objectives? I'm not saying to be selfish and just always say no if it doesn't serve you. But there is a fine balance between saying no in spite of what you have to do, saying no in a way that it's not just going to not benefit you, but it might actually ruin you too. So are you able to say no without feeling guilty? Quick recap on what we talked about today. You want to take the time to stop. And as you were stopping, remember that time management, it's a matter of attitude, analysis, and behavior. And you want to reflect, organize, and act upon the result of that stopping. It's not stopping just because you're overwhelmed, which is totally fine. It's stopping to take stock. Okay? And then you want to ask yourself the 3 questions, maybe several times a day. I now ask this question to myself several times a day, to be honest. Do you take the time each day to think about the gap between what you are doing and what you're trying to accomplish? Are you able to reduce recurring interruptions in your periods of focus? And are you able to say no without feeling guilt? That's it for me today. I hope you found that episode helpful and insightful. If you have questions or topics you'd like me to address, email me at the email address in the description box. And last but not least, leave your 5-star review anywhere you are listening. It really encourages me. I wish you, wherever you are, to be well, and I will talk to you next time.